Watching Critical Role and then expecting your first Dungeons & Dragons games to be the same is like going out in a football field and expecting to play like Tom Brady just because you watched a few Super Bowls. Hello, you are sensational. I know that because you clicked on this video. I'm your host, Atten, and we're going to talk about one of the things that makes you so amazing, your creativity and passion for tabletop role-playing games. And if you're new to tabletop role-playing games, this is a must-watch video. I'll be discussing the Matt Mercer effect, but I have something to add that I think will blow your mind. Gary Gygax, co-creator of D&D, actually commented on the Matt Mercer effect back in Dragon Magazine number 102 from October of 1985, when Matt was only 3 years old. Yes, so just wait until I get to that. First, so everyone understands, Matt Mercer is a dungeon master, or game referee, for Critical Role. Currently, the show has an average of nearly 40,000 views per stream, and they're recognized as having brought a lot of new players and interest to the hobby, which is absolutely great. And really, their animated series, Vox Machina, is some of my favorite D&D content ever created. It has reminded me of how much I enjoyed watching the original D&D cartoon back in the 80s when I was a teenager. Back then, we were starving for D&D content, so we didn't really care much about quality, except Vox Machina is actually really good. And I'm abundantly grateful that they created it. Now, as for the Matt Mercer effect, some might see Critical Role and think that that represents the best D&D has to offer, and then expect the same from their games. And that leads me to ask two distinct questions. Do all of the new players see Critical Role and think that is peak D&D? And do these new players think that the way Critical Role plays D&D is the way they're supposed to be playing D&D as well? For the first question, the best answer is to ask our own question. Are the participants all having fun? And if they are, then yes, it's peak D&D. And that isn't because of Matt's fantastic DM skill or the players making funny voices. None of that is necessary to have fun playing Dungeons & Dragons. And simply put, peak D&D just means the participants are all enjoying themselves. And the second question is, do new players think they're supposed to be playing D&D the way Critical Role is playing D&D? This is where that old Dragon Magazine article from Gary Gygax comes in. In his editorial titled Realms of Role-Playing, Let's Start Pushing the Pendulum the Other Way, Gary expressed his concern over witnessing too many D&D players who thought role-playing required participants to become theater majors, speaking in accents and acting out their characters. I'm going to directly quote Gary from that article.
It is important to remember that role-playing is a modifier of the noun game. We are dealing with a game which is based on role-playing, but it is first and foremost a game. Games are not plays, although role-playing games should have some of the theater included in their play. To put undue stress upon mere role-playing places the cart before the horse. Role-playing is a necessary part of the game, but is by no means the whole of the matter. Role-playing is similar to, but not the same as, role assumption. This distinction is important in the context of gaming because of the stress now being placed upon role-playing. Too much emphasis in this direction tends to make playing out an adventure more of a children's let's pretend activity than an action-packed game. A role-playing game should be such that players begin the personification portion as role-play, and then, as they progress, the activity should evolve into something akin to role assumption. This does away with stilted attempts to act the part of some character. In place of this, players should try to become that person that they are imagining during the course of the game, and conduct the actions of their characters accordingly.
What Gary is telling us is that we need to get into the heads of our characters and make choices that our character would make, but we don't actually need to be an actor putting on some theatrical show. It's totally cool if you do, but Gary is warning against placing too much focus on that aspect of play. Now remember, Critical Role is a group of experienced actors playing Dungeons & Dragons for the purpose of entertaining their audience and making a profit. They're a business. Checking their available YouTube statistics on socialblade.com, it indicates that their show is earning somewhere between $34,000 to $500,000 per year. It's a business, and they're in front of a camera. Watching Critical Role and then expecting your first Dungeons & Dragons games to be the same is like going out in a football field and expecting to play like Tom Brady just because you watched a few Super Bowls. Just because you saw someone perform an activity at a professional level should that translate into your ability to replicate them? And in Dungeons & Dragons or any other tabletop role-playing game, that shouldn't even be your goal. Your goal is just to have fun. The word playing is literally in the name of the activity. If you're putting pressure on yourself to play at some level you believe other groups are playing at, you're really kind of missing out and potentially ruining the true enjoyment this hobby does have to offer. In the year 19 BC, the Roman poet Horace wrote Ars Poetica, in which he instructed artists to only take upon their shoulders the weight they could bear. He cautioned against trying to be weird for the sake of weirdness over 2,000 years ago, and that guy was saying, relax, stop trying to be someone or something that you're not. True beauty and authentic expression comes from being yourself. Some say Critical Role is great because Matt is so experienced with the rules and such a talented performer. Some think Critical Role is great because of all the props and resources they have. But when playing any tabletop role-playing game, the definition of great simply means that the participants are having fun. In the 1980s, we regularly played my buddy's basement for 12 hours straight with only our imaginations, graph paper, and a few minis that I had managed to collect at the time. And we had reached peak D&D every time we played because we were all having a great time. You know, I began DMing 2 years before Matt Mercer was born, and I've still never been in a group like that of Critical Role. But that hasn't made any of my gaming experiences any less remarkable. I've been blessed with brilliant, creative, funny, amazing people. I've had game designers and 3rd edition playtesters at my table. I've had business and healthcare professionals. I've had actors and authors and educators in my groups. Over the course of my games, I've had the privilege of observing socially awkward individuals become more comfortable relating to others. I've watched people really learn to tap into their creativity, and all of these people certainly contributed to my skill in the hobby today. When I began refereeing games, not only did I have no idea what I was doing, but there was very little in the way of resources to help us learn. We were pretty much on our own. We were limited to articles in the 3 or 4 trade magazines available at the time. Other than that, we either picked up tips from friends running games or we just made it up as we went. So is the Matt Mercer effect good for the hobby? Let me ask you, have you heard of the Uhura effect? This is a name given to the influence and inspiration the character of Uhura from Star Trek had on Black women, encouraging them to pursue careers in professional spaces, particularly in fields traditionally dominated by white males. Uhura's representation demonstrated the importance of diversity and inclusion, showing that Black women can thrive and contribute in various professional roles. And have you heard of the Scully effect? This is a name given to the phenomenon where the number of women starting careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics saw a noticeable increase following the airing of the X-Files in the early 1990s. So why would bringing new people into the hobby and removing a lot of the stigma my generation had to deal with over TTRPGs even be considered a bad thing? The Matt Mercer effect is bringing new players from all backgrounds into tabletop role-playing games, which is not just a good thing, it's a great thing. So here's my advice. Let me just speak to you as a friend when I say, relax, have fun. Everyone just needs to relax. Remember, Critical Role is spelled R-O-L-E, not R-O-L-L. You don't even need to know the rules to play D&D. Just assume the role of the character you're playing. You know, in fact, Gary Gygax, co-creator of D&D, he never even actually used the official Advanced Dungeons & Dragons rules when he played AD&D. Welcome your friends to the table. Leave the stress and expectations behind and have fun playing these amazing games. Now, I hope you'll let me know in the comments if your gaming experiences are similar to the stories I've shared in this video, and what your thoughts are. Thank you so much for watching, and keep on being amazing. I hope you like this video, and if this is your first time here, please subscribe and remember to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads. Thank you so much.